segment 4. Now, segment 4 usually is our business segment. If we do have a guest who has booked themselves on the show, we usually leave them to the 4th segment. But today, we didn't have one of that situation, so we got another segment.
Oh,
so
we get to talk some more.
Yeah, so let's recap. Now, segment 1's all about out the gate. We did events and shout-outs, and if we have any more, we can do that. That was cool. In fact, I'm trying to find my notes. We talked a little about Gia Roselli, the young lady who is part of the Mighty 500 networking arena, who had passed on, and how all her friends are so sad about that, and we're sad too for your family, for her family. You know, like I said, I didn't know you very well, but I think if I did, you would have made me a better man. And I know Andine has had some contact with Gia, and it was, you know, all of her friends. You're great friends for giving her such a great tribute on social media. So we talked a little bit about that. We talked about Las Vegas Woman's Magazine on the 24th of August, which you're going to be, you and Tyga are going to be up trying to make babies up at the...
No babies.
No babies? You're not going to try to make some babies?
Well, we'll try.
Okay.
But not making babies.
Okay. Well, you're going to be doing your thing up at the cabin. I guess you got a cabin up there in Utah somewhere.
It's called That Cabin.
That Cabin.
That Cabin with a view.
Okay, yeah, we saw a little bit. Go to Andine's Facebook, scroll down a little bit. You'll see her giving you a little bit of a view. That is their little slice of paradise, and I think everybody should have a little slice of paradise. For me, it's the backyard. Our front yard, we have the anti-theft device called It Looks So Ratty. There's nothing in there we're stealing, but the backyard is beautiful. So everybody should have a little bit of slice of paradise. So we went through that. Lead teams, a big event. Of course, in October, we get a shout out to Mike Weinberger for doing producing 2 great expos, and now the 3rd one in October. And of course, Danny Vegas live event is August 9th at Sienna, 9500 West Sahara. So that's what. Be there, all that. So, okay, and then in segment 2, we went into the little bit of the political stuff.
Yeah.
And basically, it all kind of came out to we're exhausted. We're exhausted of DNC.
The rhetoric.
You're tired of the rhetoric.
Just,
to me, it's all public. I think we can get into this a little bit, I guess, because most people think of the world as rich people versus poor people. Okay, that's kind of how we think. That's how our politics tend to think. We got our Democratic friends who tend to cast poison on the rich folks because the poor folks don't get enough, and the right-wing people, they tend to say, hey, the rich folks do it because they work hard and they're self-accountable, and the folks on the poor tend to be there for a reason, and it just goes back and forth. I tend to believe a different thing. I tend to believe, and this is where I get in a lot of trouble, I tend to believe the war is between the public sector and the private sector.
I would agree with that.
That the public sector tends to be where the power is and where the money is, and the private sector are the people who struggle all the time. That is the poor. The powerful is the public sector or the government. So I tend to always look at things that way. The government is the powerful, the private sector is the poor. I think the poor is manufactured by the government to stay in power. You know, only people who love a crack dealer are people on crack. Okay, so the only people who really love this government are the people who are needing it. So that's the way I tend to think, which is a little bit off. That's why I tend to look at Bernie Sanders as like, listen, Bernie, the private sector doesn't create poor people. We need people to buy our stuff. We need people to go to Andine who can afford the hair and makeup, okay? The private sector ain't out there like, oh, let's create some poor people. Okay, the only entity that needs poor people is the government. That's the way I tend to think. Gets me in a little bit of trouble. When I say poor people, your job is not to be poor, that gets me in trouble. That gets me in trouble because poor people it's okay to be poor because you're there because of circumstances beyond your control. I call bullshit on that. I think the only reason why you're poor is because you choose to be poor or you choose to accept that you're poor.
Yeah.
That gets me in trouble.
Well, I mean, I grew up poor. I grew up in a trailer park. The trailer that I grew up...
You're a trailer park?
I am a trailer park.
So when you hear trailer park jokes, you're kind of like,
No, I'm proud of where I came from.
Were you in a double wide?
Well, my parents divorced and we started in a single wide. My mom had 3 kids.
Okay.
You know, we were a year and a half apart. And My dad had left and was in Europe, so she had to survive. She afforded a trailer, a little single wide trailer, and as she worked, she made $2.25 an hour, a nickel too much to get welfare assistance. 3 children, no child support.
Wow.
So she worked her butt off. I mean, she worked, I swear she worked 24 hours a day, but she never missed dinner time and she never missed breakfast. She never missed an event that we had, a sports outing, but we didn't realize we were poor until I got older, into junior high and high school, when I'd go to my friend's house and they were like, well, that's back in the mob days, they're in these mansions with, big gates, and it's like, oh, we're kind of poor. But she didn't teach us to be poor. She taught us to work hard, have a good moral value. Your word is who you are and what defines you. You're nothing more than your word. So if you want success, you work towards it. You don't blame anybody else.
Right.
Life happens, shit happens, get past it, move on. Do the best that you can and give it your all, and always be a good person. So
is that mindset gone?
I think that it's slowly dissipating. Every now and again, I'll drive back. My trailer, the trailer that we grew up in, is still in this trailer park in this city. And I'll just go sit across the street and look at it because it humbles me. Where I've worked very hard to get to where I'm at. My husband and I work very hard to contribute to society. We raise our children. Now, our children have made their own choices and done things that we don't necessarily agree with, but they have a good work ethic. Things aren't just handed to you. You can't go get in an accident and sue somebody. We're in a sue-happy society. Get past it. Work hard. Hard work pays off. You choose to be poor. Not necessarily. There are circumstances where there are people who work their butts off and try so hard and they just have bad luck, bad luck, bad luck. That's not everybody. You can get out of a trailer park. You can get out of the ghetto. You can get out of the hood. You can educate yourself.
I agree. Now, some children are born into circumstances they cannot control.
Correct.
But once they get to the age where their life is in their own hands,
you have choice.
I think you have choices, and I get in trouble for saying this, but I think poor people, if they're continuously poor, I think it's generational. I think it's ingrained in the culture, and now in America, it's okay. Let me tell you a story, Andy, and I know you remember this. Back in the day, if you were on welfare, you had to use welfare checks. I mean, you literally had to pull out your coupon book, and in front of a line, in front of all these people, you had to sit there and write your welfare checks. You had
food stamps.
Food stamps. That's the word I'm trying to use. You had to pull out your food stamps.
It looked like Monopoly money.
Yeah, and you had to basically throw that stuff down on a table in front of everybody. And you know what? People think, that was so mean. You know what? It wasn't mean.
No.
You know what it did? It made you not want to be poor.
Right.
Because you had to use those things in front of everybody. Now, I just pull out my EMT card with the little eagle on it. Says Nevada Pride. Swipe that stuff. Got my crab. Got my steaks.
I have a hard time with that. I have a hard time when, again, we do have, demographic in society and what we make. But if you're on public assistance, that's coming out of my pocket.
Oh, big time.
Your pocket.
Big time.
Why aren't you drug tested?
Ooh, that. With a minute left, we're going to go there.
I know every job I've ever had, I've had to get drug tested.
Drug testing for welfare benefits. Wow. Andy, you know what I'm going to do with you? You know what I'm going to do with you? I'm going to save that one for your next appearance. As #OneLuckyGal, #Cornerstone, do we drug test welfare people?
We should.
She says you should. I'm supposed to be the hardcore guy. I'm saying maybe.
Yeah. I want to give a shout out. I had a facial yesterday from Lisa over at KTLO Hair Lounge. They're over on 215 in Jones. I just want to give her huge shout out. My face is so soft. Do I look younger?
You do. You look
glowing.
Good. Tyga. You're in for it.
Watch out.
We're out. Okay. Hey, Joe Gamble, thank you for being on the board. All you people out there watching live, we love you. People watching all the segments, we love you.
Thank you.
Thank you for making this a #1 show in Vegas. People don't realize this show is better than anything on TV. Because the #1 show in Vegas, it's not on TV, it's online. I'll see you next week. Thank you.
Have a great